Welcome back to my channel. My name's Laura Watson, and today I'm going to show you how to do this quick and simple thimbleberry watercolor painting, and I'm also going to be demoing these Fuumuui travel size watercolor brushes. Today I'm going to show you these travel brushes I received from Fuumuui Art. And these are 3 sable travel brushes. They come in this little set of 3 with this pocket, and the company very nicely sent them to me to give them a try. So the brushes come out like this, and then they screw in, and they're quite a nice quality brush for the cost of the set on the website. And I'm going to give these a try today and demonstrate them by doing a thimbleberry painting. So the set on their website right now, I think it goes on sale. It's $20.99 on sale right now. It's usually between, I think, $35 to $45 for the set. And there's a number 12, a number 8, and a number 4. So this is the 12. This is the 8, and this is the number 4. Now I must mention that all brush companies are a little bit different. So the brushes I usually use are the Raphael Kolinsky Sable brushes, and this brush is closer to a size 8, and this is closer to a 4, and this is closer to a 2. So they are fairly similar to the normal sizes I use. I usually use about these 2 most often. But their sizing is just a little different. So now they are fully ready to paint, and they just pack up into this tiny little travel case. These would be great to go with the Watercolor color swatch sheets. If you want to be very compact and mobile, you can check out one of my videos on those for more ideas on how to just have compact painting supplies or painting supplies that you want to take with you outdoors. Alright, so I have a little sketch just on some watercolor paper. I've torn into a bit of a square here. I have my 52 color artist quality palette that I've put together myself here, and I will just mix up a few colors for the thimbleberries. I'm going to reuse these greens that I have, and I will be just using an older brush as per usual for mixing, just because I don't want to wear out my nice brushes. And so I've just got a worn out brush here. I am going to wake up my colors. This is probably just like a sap green with a bit of red mixed in, and some Payne's gray or neutral tint would work too to darken it. And this is a good sepal color here for the berry sepals. And I'll just grab some more sap green. I want these nice, strong, milky colors for my first layer. Using my 3-step painting method, we'll be doing our base shapes first, then some detailing, and then adding some contrast. So I can get a nice, harmonious dark green, the same as my lighter green if I just add some neutral tint to it. And now for the thimbleberries, they're kind of a pinky red to a peach color, or like almost like a salmon color. So I'm going to take some of my Holbein Quinacridone Red, which is actually fairly similar to Permanent Rose, and then I'll add some actual red to it. So I'll add this Windsor Red here to get a nice pinky red. And then I'll just take some Windsor Red on its own. And then this is Alizarin Crimson. Just want a nice range of reddish pinks. And then maybe some Perylene Maroon for some of the darker areas. And then why don't we try some Crimson Lake? Holbein Crimson Lake with some of the Windsor Red for kind of a shadowy look. Alright, so that should be enough colors to start with. I'm going to start with the bigger brush, and I don't usually use such large brushes unless I'm doing big leaves, so I did pick something with a bit of a bigger leaf to show you. So I'm still wetting my brush, twisting it to make a nice point. And then we'll start with the green here. Might have to just dip in and get more green because this brush takes a lot of paint. Twist, and then I'm just going to get started here, probably with this one. And just making sure I've got enough water on my brush. I'm making those leaf shapes, the edge of the leaf shape with the brush, and actually that's working quite well. And just want to keep that nice and organic looking, so that looks good for now for the base shape. Now I'll take a bit of the darker green, twisting it as I go. Just have to make sure you have enough paint and water when you're using such a bigger brush so that it glides around and you have that milky consistency. This one, there's a berry over top, so I'm just carefully going to add in the pieces of the leaf in and around that first. And it's a big brush, but it does go to a nice fine point. Now before that dries, I'm going to push and then lift up to get a nice point here. There we go. And I'm using the shape of the brush to get those sort of organic leaf edges. And this actually is a really good brush for doing that. Has a pretty good spring back. It's not quite as springy as the Kolinsky Sable, but those are also probably at least double the price of these brushes. So for the price that you would pay for these brushes, it's quite good performance and value. Now you can see I have a darker leaf and a lighter leaf. I've done that on purpose. I like this color variation. I didn't erase my pencil, I just had it for a guide, so I'll just let these dry and I'll erase any of the stray pencil showing through. And I'm going to let this dry before I put the berry in. So I'll just start on these berries with my smaller brush here. Rather than painting every little bit of the berry, I'm just going to imply some of that. So I'm going to just leave some white space and make an irregular sort of edge. And again, I'm not worrying too much about the pencil showing. And then while it's still wet, I'm just dabbing in some of the darker color around where the berry would be darker. So again, this is the number 8 brush. And if you're following along using the Raphael brushes I usually use, then you'd be wanting to use a number 4. So these are really easy berries to do. Now I'm going to lighten up the color for this bottom one. It's less ripe. And just leave it like that. Now I'm going to let this leaf dry just a little more before I come in to do these berries. And then we will add step 2 and step 3 and have our lovely little thimbleberry painting finished. Okay, so everything's dry. I've removed some of the pencil. I'm going back in to make a darker berry here. And this one will kind of be front on. Just lightly using the tip of my brush so that I have some white showing. Like that. Rinsing out my brush. I will use this Perylene Maroon actually to get that sort of unripe salmon-y color. This one is a little bit of an irregular shape. I'll leave some space for the sepal. Harder doing that over the leaf. But there we go. Okay. Now I'll switch to my smaller brush, which is the Fuumuui number 4. And And I will take some of the alizarin crimson lake, and maybe just a touch of moon glow for my shadowy color. And while things are a little bit wet, I'll just dip in a little bit of shadow. Rinsing out my brush. Now I will just dab up that extra water, and then I'll add some stems. And the stems are not really green, they are more of a sort of a green peachy color. I'm going to make it over here sort of brownish green, little bit of red undertone. This will do. You always want to mix another color you need out of colors you have, if you can. It will be much more harmonious looking that way. So I'm just going to start with connecting the leaves here, doing this berry stem, and then I'll just bring this out here for the main part of the stem where that all connects. And then connecting these ones here, again just really light pressure using the tip of my brush. This one kind of went a bit over with the leaf color, and then these ones are coming down here. So that's connecting up nicely. Now I'll take that same color and I'm going to put in the sepals. These are the little dried bits that would have been below the flower petals from the blossoms. And they really do sort of add that finished look to your berry. Some of them are going over the berry and I'm just sort of painting over it. This one I left some reserved white paper for so they would show up. And then we can always darken those on step 3. So now our berries are coming to life. I'm going back to my sap green and my neutral tint, making a bit of a darker mix, and now I'm just going to paint in some veins, following the veination pattern of these leaves, which is sort of a palmate pattern on some of them, but then there's also ones that are more of the pinnate pattern. So it just depends on, I guess, the type of, or the leaf, or maybe the age of the leaf, I'm not sure. Anyway, just looking at the picture, I'm just making some irregular shape, or some irregular broken lines. They don't have to be perfectly straight. They're better if they're not. And you don't need to draw on everything, just imply some. Again, using the smallest brush they sent me out of the travel set. Jab off a bit of excess color if I need to. And I always like to use the actual brush to create the leaf shape. And I get a much more organic looking leaf this way. And the pencil is just sort of to guide me at the beginning. So that's why I try and put in as little pencil as possible, though I'm not one of those people that can just paint with no pencil lines or anything. This is cool because it kind of just worked out the way the brush made it, so that it's folded over at the tip, which I like. So I'm just accentuating that with a little bit of shadow here. Okay, so I'm going to leave the leaves like that, and now take my mixing brush. I'm going to add in some neutral tint to my stem and sepal color. And then I'll just add more green to mute that down. Get sort of a darker color there. Then I'll take my smaller number 4 brush again, rinse and twist the tip, and then I'll just be sort of dotting on some darker color here, but I'm making sure I don't cover up my reserved white space. And of course these are a little bit impressionistic. They're not completely realistic thimbleberries or botanically correct, but they are inspired by the thimbleberry. Now I need that darker stem and sequel color. And I'm just going to lightly add this darker color in just in certain areas. Not all over what I painted. Just enough to create some contrast. I want my layer 1 to show through in some spots, and then just darker color in some other spots. And again, I'm just using really light pressure where things might overlap or be in shadow. Where things join up, it's usually a bit of a shadow as well. And then this one, make darker. Alright, so this is coming along. We're almost done. These brushes are working out quite nicely, so it'd be something I'd definitely be happy to take out with me with my sketchbook to save some space. And then I'll take the number 8 brush and just get a bit more darker color here. Maybe add in a little red just for that harmonious color. And then I'm just going to tip in a little bit of color along this edge farthest away from where the light would be. I don't want to do too much. And then I will take my clean damp brush and just sort of spread that along, just to add a little bit more shadow and contrast. I don't want to do too much because it will make the leaf look over painted and ruin sort of this lovely watercolor look we have going on. So just in a few spots. This is nice sort of watery milky paint. Paint consistency is key for making these techniques work. You can always look more up about the Watercolor Garden, my online school, where I teach a lot of detailed step-by-step full-length tutorials on how to do these things, as well as some tip videos on things like water control, paint consistency, and all the things you need to succeed as a watercolor painter that's interested in botanicals. So now this is good for this leaf. I don't mind that there's some hard edges. And now again, just spreading sort of at the base of this leaf. I'm not going to do too much all at once. Add a bit of color, rinse, dab my brush, and then pressing down. I'm using pressure. I'm not scared of wrecking the brush because that's what they're made for. I'm adding in some more of that darker color just on the far side of the leaf, like that. And then press, wiggle, and drag. Get that color moved around. So this is going to be darker anyway because it's below. This is up facing the light. So I might add just a tiny bit more. You do have to keep remixing your paint, otherwise you'll just overwork your paper. So keeping an eye on your paint consistency is one of the things that trip up a lot of beginners. So just add a little bit more really dark paint here. Rinse out my brush, dab it, and then just drag that along. Flick it up a bit. All right. Okay, so this was just a quick, easy tutorial. I'm going to leave it at that. Again, I used my Fuumuui travel set here with my 3 brushes, and it comes in this lovely little kit and breaks down super small. And this is something I would definitely want to do in my sketchbook sometime, or for a quick, easy greeting card project. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks again for watching this video, guys. If you want to try these brushes out for yourself, you can click the link in the video description below and get them for a discounted price, and it also helps support my channel. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.